Hi guys, welcome back to my next tutorial, and this is my extra large project bag slash Aldi's bag slash whatever you can use it for. It did turn out a little bigger than I expected, but I'm okay with that. I can use it for all sorts of stuff. It's so we have our outside panel, and then we have our inside is all blue. So what we're gonna be doing is excuse me, what we're gonna be doing is making our squares for our outside and our squares on our inside, sew that together, and then we're gonna do our sides. So we have our front, our back, our sides, and then our bottom base. So here's your square counts to make this bag. You're gonna need 73 blue. Now, the reason there's so many is because we have this lining, this lining, this lining, this lining, this lining, and then the bottom of the bag. So that's why you're going to need so many of the blue. Now, for the yellow, your count's going to be 14, and for the mix, your count is going to be 21. Now, you guys don't have to follow what I did here. You guys can go crazy and do it, whatever kind you want to do. I did use Red Heart with Love in the color Peacock, and Red Heart with Love in the color Corn Silk. Now, for your skein count for all of these squares, I used, and this is including your handles, this is including, your single crochets all the way around, everything. I used 9 skeins of blue, and this is what I have left of the 9. And of the 3 skeins of yellow, this is what I have left of the 3. So you're going to need, it's not going to focus on it, a 5mm hook. It's not going to focus. And you're also going to need an 8mm hook. Now, if you don't have an 8, you can use a 7. Your squares are going to be a little smaller. My squares turned out roughly to be 5.5 by 5.5. Let's see. The next thing you're going to need is obviously your needle to weave in your ends. You're going to need a measuring tape for your handles, pair of scissors, and the optional thing that I did use is this fabric tack. Now, you don't have to use it. The only reason I used it is because I wanted to reinforce these knots in my stitches right here. So if I do have anything heavy in there, it's not going to pop the knot out of the single crochets. I'm pretty sure that's it. So get all your supplies together. I also wanted to add that when I first started to do this bag, I had, in my head, it didn't look like this. So I made a little too many squares. So if my skein count is a little off, you might have a little extra than what I have, but that's no big deal. You can just, make another bag or whatever you want to do. But anyway, let's get this started. Okay, guys, so to get started with our square, we're going to take our one strand of yellow and our one strand of blue. We're going to make a slip knot. And chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come back to our first chain and slip stitch to form our ring. And chain 1. Working over our tail, work 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 more doubles, 1, 2, Make sure you're getting both strands. So that's 3, chain 2, 3, chain 2, scooch it over a little, 3 more doubles, 1, 2, 3, chain 2. So the chain 2s are our corners, so we have 1, 2, here's our third corner, so 3 more doubles, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, so 1 corner, 2 corner, 3 corner, here's our fourth, so now we're back to the beginning, and we're just going to slip stitch to the top of the first double, and there you go. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop, and I want to weave in this tail, or tails. Grab my needle. Thread that. And now, if you look, our tail worked around this way, so I want to keep going this way. So I'm just going to go in, go underneath all the legs here. Pull tight. Go one more time. Get in there. Pull that tight. And of course I don't have a pair of scissors sitting next to me. I'll snip it later. Alright, so now we're on to round 2. Get all of your strands on there, and we're going to chain 1. And we're going to work right back into that space with a double. So 1, a double into the next, 2, a double into the next. So there's 3, and now we're to our corner. So we're going to work 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. So 1, get me some slack. 2, chain 2, scooch that over, and then 2 double. 1, 2. Now we're going to work 1 into the next 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now we're to our corner. So 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. 1, 2, chain 2, 1, 2, 2 double back into there. 1, 2, scooch that over. 1 into your 3. 1. Oops, hit my light. 2, 3. We're to another corner, so 2 double. 1, 2, chain 2, scooch that over. 1, 2, 1 into our next 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're to our last corner, so we got to do 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. 1, 2, chain, uh-oh, missed one of my strands. 2, scooch, 1, and 2. Now we're back to our beginning. You can see here's the first double, so I'm going to slip stitch into that, and that's the end of round 2. So we went from, pull out, we went from 3 double to 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 double. So now the next round we're going to be increasing with our corner spaces by 2 here and 2 here. So we're increasing by 4. Okay, so get my strands separated right. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, go right back in there, right back in there, oop, with 1 double, 1, and then 1 double across here. I gotta get me some slack on my blue. Okay. So double into the next. Double into the next. All the way across to our chain, or I mean our corner. Okay. So 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. So 1, 2, chain 2, scooch, 1 and 2, scooch, so we can see the top of this double. We're going to work our double crochet across the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, sorry. I was just working along. So I double crocheted into the last one, and I'm starting my point now. So it's 2 double, chain 2, scooch that over, 2 double. So now we had 7, or I mean, round 2 we had 7. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Which at the end of this round, every side all the way around should have 11 double crochets. And that's important because when we sew all these together, we want to have the right stitch count. Okay, so scooch that over so you can see the top of your next double. And we're going to work right across this edge. Oh, missed a strand. Alright, so I'm to the corner. So 2 doubles. 1, 2, chain 2. Oh, did it again. Scooch. 1, 2. So here's the top of our first. Double across the top of here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, to the corner. Oh, that came out of nowhere. Sorry. Okay, so we're to the corner. So 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. So there's 1, 2, chain 2. Scooch out over. 1 and 2. All right, so we're getting close to the beginning, but we've got 2 doubles we have to work into. So here's the top of our 2 double. Get my pointing needle. Here's our chain 1, or I mean our slip stitch, our chain 1, and our first double. So double, double, slip stitch, chain 1, first double. I always, if you're ever working on anything, this is kind of off topic, but if you're ever working on anything and you get lost in where your slip stitch and your chain 1 is, I always look at it as in our chain 1 looks like the bottom of a heart and our slip stitch looks like a belt squeezing the bottom of the heart. That's what I that's what I always think of. You know, that's how I always know where my slip stitch and the chain 1 are. That might help some, might not help others, but it's just how I do it. Anywho, so double crochet in your next, double crochet in your last one, so we have our belt, bottom of our heart, and our first double. Go right in there to there and slip stitch. Chain 1, and that's it. I'm gonna pause this for a second, go find me a pair of scissors. Just a minute. Alrighty, found my scissors. So we're gonna, oh, I just bumped the camera, sorry. We're gonna snip this, pull this out, pull this down. Alrighty, so we got our slip stitch to the first double, chain 1, pull tight. Now I want you guys to notice whenever you slip stitch to that first double, it almost looks like you have a whole nother stitch right here. But I'll explain that better whenever we're sewing our squares together, or single crocheting our squares together. But whenever you slip stitch and pull down, I'm going to scooch that to the side a little bit so you can see the top of your stitch right here. Move my tails. And here's the one before. So here's our double before. Here's our slip stitch, chain 1 to lock it down, and our next one. So when we're sewing these together, we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4, skip, 5, 6, and so on. But anyway, I'm going to weave in these tails real quick. Load this up. And now when I'm weaving in these ends, I'm going to go right through these loops at the back of my double. I'm going to go right through there. And don't pull it extremely tight, you know, because if you yank on it, this whole, well, I'll show you real quick. Pull that tight. Now look what it does to the top. See how everything's like smashed down? I don't want that. I'm going to loosen it back up. I want it to be nice and pretty and straight. Okay. Now I'm just going to take it under the legs of our doubles right here. Go right in there. All the way across. Here to here. Now again, don't yank it real tight, just right there. Now this going back is what's going to lock this in place. And I'm just going through all the fibers. Still, remember, don't be yanking it tight. That one more time. Give that a little bit of a pull. And there we go. Snip these ends. And there's our square. Ta-da! All right. Okay guys, so I'm back and I've got my squares made up. I've actually already gotten my front panel, back panel, bottom panel, and one side panel, and here is the other side panel. Now I've got my squares laid out how I want the colors to go. So to get started with sewing these together, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way to the top. Well, yeah, well, if you notice, the top is the same as the bottom, so it kind of doesn't matter, but I'm going to start here, and we're going to sew up the colored squares. Mind you, my bottom layer is underneath here, but what we're going to do, I'll put my camera up. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two bottom squares, shift this out of the way, okay. I'm going to take my two bottom squares with the right sides facing up, and I'm just going to flip one on top of the other. I'm going to flip the right one on top of this, top of the left one. I'm going to take my blue yarn and my 5mm hook. I'm going to put a slip knot on there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, so this is how they're laid out, you know, for my panel. And I don't want to, you know, accidentally flip it to where my colors are messed up. So I'm going to keep them just like this. Get my finger in the chain space right here, and I'm going to work up this way. Now if you guys, you know, make your bag with, you know, all kinds of crazy colors or solid colors, it's not going to be a problem for you, but since mine are, you know, color coordinated, it's a little more of a struggle to try to keep, you know, the colors right. But I'm going to go into the back, grab a loop, chain one. I'm going to go right back into that chain. Well, I worked a slip stitch, chain one. I'm going to single crochet into that chain space. So now I'm going to start working into the top of each doubles. I'm not splitting the loops or anything. I'm just going straight in. So I'm here. Can you guys see on this side? And here. So not including the one in the single crochet in my chain, I'm going to count for my doubles. So there's one. Remember, I should have 11. So there's one. Go into my next double. My double over here. 2. My double here. My double here. 3. Here and here. 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's my last double here and my last double here. 11. Now I'm going to go straight into that chain space. So then that's the end of sewing, you know, these two together. So when I flip them over, the colors are still the same how I want my panel to be. So now, take this out. I'm going to go, so like I started here. Now I'm coming up this way. So now I need mix on blue. So bring that here. Put my camera back in. So what I'm going to do is just keep working straight up that seam. So I'm going to close that back up. I got these two flipped the way I need them. So just get my finger in there and bring it right to me. And I'm just going to start with going, if I could pick everything up right, I'm just going to go straight into my chain space and work a single. So now these are connected. So now I'm going to find my first double, which is right here. Go in, find my first double on the other side, which is right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right here. Here's my next. 7. Ouch! I hit my light. Get some slack. Was that 7? 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So here's 8. 9. Oop, I think I missed one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now, if there is, you know, you are chaining, or I mean, single crocheting these together, and you are off, you know, on one square. Let's say I still have another double to work into on this one. Just pull out a couple and skip one on the square that you have maybe 12. It's not going to be a big deal. It's just, you know, you want to try to keep it the same as much as possible so you don't have a huge gap or anything like that. Don't skip like 3 or 4, you know, right next to each other, but try to keep it consistent. Okay, so I've into my last double. I'm going to go in straight into that chain, and I'm done with this one. So I'm going to set it down, and this is back to the way to the top layer should be. So now I'm going to go to my next top right here, so which is yellow on mix. I'm not going to flip it or anything, bring it straight across. Put my camera back. Flip those shut. Bring this to me. So I'm still yellow on mix. Bring this down to me. Get my fingers in there so I can find my chain space and go right in there with a single. So that way I'm not flipping the colors or the squares or anything. I'm keeping it just the way I want it to go. So I'm going to go into the first double, my first double on this side, which is right here, and single. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've been waiting for this. Here's our slip stitch in our chain 1 from when we ended our square. So if you look, here is the focus here. Here is the, I want this focus there. Oh. Here is the top of our double we slip stitch to, the slip stitch in the chain 1, and the next stitch. So we're going into this little heart right here, working right across this. Don't go into this anywhere, and going into our next double. and I've lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7, we're going to go into the little heart and straight across. There's 7. Now we're going to just go right past it. Go into the next. Your next one on this side. Is that 8? 8, 9, 10, and 11. Straight into our chain space. Now since we've sewn this row, because it's 3 by 3, so we've got our 3 row here, we can finish this. So all I'm gonna do, I worked the 1 single into the chain space, chain 1, I'm gonna pull up a loop for weaving in my end, and snip that off. Pull tight, and now I'm just gonna set this to the side. All right. So now you can go ahead and start on your bottom layer, but I want to go ahead and finish this top with you guys. I shouldn't have set that to the side, but I'm going to bring this back. So it's yellow mix yellow. Now I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to start here. So the next square I need is my yellow, because I don't want mix on mix, so I know that the next one's yellow. So I'm just going to put my right sides together. Get my hook in there. My yarn. Get our slip stitch. Our slip stitch. Chain 1. Go right back in there with a single. It's kind of hard with the camera focusing on everything but me. Alright, so go into your first. Find the top of your first double on the second square and single. Go ahead and work across here. It's 2. 3, 4. Now on this square I've made it to the slip stitch in the chain 1, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my next double on this one, find my little heart, go in there and just completely pass it into the next. By pass it, I meant like my slip stitch and chain. So now on this one I'm to the slip stitch and chain, so I see my little heart right here. I can see my little heart right there. So I'm going to go straight in and then across to the other side. Now that when I go to my next, the top of my next double, I'm just going to completely just pass that. Go in without splitting your yarn and go in to the next. Okay, now I'm going to single crochet into my chain space. Now I'm going to grab my next square. So yellow mix yellow, yellow mix blue. So my next square is mix. So I'm going to lay my mix on my blue with the right sides facing each other. Get that out of the way. And come straight across into the chain space, and I'm going to work my single. So I'm just going to go through the chain space on both squares and work a single. Now I'm going to find the top of my first double, which it looks like it could be this, but there's your camel hump for your chain. So it's right here. in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Go straight into the chain space, work your single, and we're going to grab the next square. I'm not going to unfold those, but you can see right here we have yellow mix, so we need our yellow. Here's my yellow with the right sides facing. Flip that over, scooch it to bring it to myself, and go straight into the chain space of both squares with the single. Now I do try to work the single, you know, when you're connecting squares, I do work the single in the chain space a little bit tighter because I want to make sure it's pretty sturdy. And each chain at the end of, you know, sewing our panel together, each chain space is going to have 2 single crochets, you know, because we work it this way with 1 single in our chain space. But when we're sewing this way, we're going to put another single crochet in there. Okay, so back where we were, we worked our single into the chain. Now we're going to go to the top of our double, just here and here. There's 1, 2, 3, well, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now we're to the end of our 3x3 up this way, so we're just gonna chain 1, pull up. Wait a minute, I forgot to, yeah. We worked our last double into our chain space, work our single crochet, chain 1, pull up a long loop to weave in our tail, and cut. Okay. I know it looks a little funky now, but it'll come together. So we've sewn our squares up this way, so now we need to sew them this way. I keep bumping my camera. And it doesn't matter how you guys do this, because, you know, you're not going to lose control of your colors. But I'm just going to take my bottom layer, or my bottom row, flip it up, and do the same thing we've been doing. So I'm going to start with a slip. Ooh, I hit my camera again. Start with a slip knot on our hook. Pull it through, slip stitch, chain 1, and go right back in there with a single. Find the top of your first double, which is right here. So there's 1. Find the top of your first double on your other square, and single. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's the slip stitch in our chain 1. So I'm just going to go into the top of my next double here and go into my little heart right here. I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into our little heart and straight across. 7, skip right across here to 8, 9, 10. Now this last double is a little stretch, but that's okay. Get in there. On this side is 11. Now we're going to go straight into our chain space right here and work 1 double. Now we're going to just cross straight over the connecting single crochet of these two squares. And we're going to single crochet into that, into our, our chain space. So now it's hard to tell, but these two chain spaces have two doubles in, or two singles into them. Give me some slack. So now we're going to find the top of our first double, which is right here and here, and keep just trucking along the top here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then to our last, which is a little stretched. Get my finger in there. See it right here? Here's 11. And on this side. Okay, so go into our chain, work our single, jump straight across into the, oops, stop shaking, into our next chain. We're just going to skip right across all this into our chain and single. Go into the top of our first double on each square, single. So that was 1, 2, split something, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to find our little heart, because here's our slip knot, and chain 1. So there's our little heart right there. So go right into that and into our next. And then we're just going to jump right across to the top of the next double and into the next one on our other square. And I lost count. But just keep single crocheting across the top into my last double here, into my chain space, and chain 1. Pull up a loop, and there you go. Now, we've sewn this together and this together, so now we need to sew or single crochet this together, and that'll be this part of our panel done. And it's so much easier on the the bottom layer of our panel, the solid blue layer, because it doesn't matter how the squares get sewn together. Just sew them together like you did with this layer of your panel and you're done. Okay, so we're gonna start again. Find my yarn. Get a slip knot on there. And just go straight into the chain spaces, I mean. Slip stitch, chain 1, and go right back in there. Now we find the top of our double here and here. See it right there? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and our last double here and here is 11, straight into our chain 2 space with a single, jump across straight into our chain 2 space with another single, and find the top of your next double and keep working along. So I'm going to go ahead and finish working across here. I think you guys, have the understanding of this, and just single crochet across, 1 into your chain 2 space, jump across, 1 into your chain 2 space, work across, and I'll meet you guys back down here. Alright, so I've made it across. Of course, I'm all tangled up. Okay, so into my last double here, my last double on this side, single, straight into my chain space, single, chain 1, pull up a loop. And there's your first panel done. Don't forget to weave in your ends too. So that's that concept is what we're going to follow around, all of our panels. The top layer, the bottom layer, obviously, you don't have to be too concerned about how you do your colors and that. But get your panels sewn together, your squares sewn together, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to sew your top layer to your bottom layer, and then we're going to leave a piece open so we can slide our stabilizer, whatever you guys choose. Like I said in the beginning, I chose cardboard, but whatever you guys choose, also you don't have to put any kind of stabilizer in here. But anyway, get everything sewn together, all your squares sewn together, and I will come back and I'm going to show you how to sew the top layer to our bottom blue layer. I'll be right back.